Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Run It Back. I'm your host, Josh. I'm here with Ryan.
Hey.
And a friend of the site, and a friend of a friend, a friend of a friend of a friend, Tristan. How's it going, Tristan?
Howdy.
So, in the spirit of keeping the Run It Back series going, we kind of course corrected from the first one. It was kind of I would say that would be the pilot episode. This is kind of us getting into the groove of things. So we've chose to kind of streamline it here and just kind of pick a franchise from back in the day and just run with it. This is Castlevania. If you haven't heard about Castlevania, then you're living under a rock or you don't own Netflix. It's a pretty dope series. It's about Draculas and vampires and Frankensteins. This here is the Castlevania Anniversary Collection. Ryan, you want to tell the audience a little bit about what this is that we got here?
So basically, Castlevania is an action platformer. It was published by Konami, however you want to pronounce it, for the Family Computer Disk System video game console in Japan in September of 1986. And after that, it was then ported to cartridge format to be released in North America for the NES, or Nintendo Entertainment System, in May of 1987, and in Europe in 1988.
The NES was better.
So basically, this game is an old ass game. Like the first real ass Castlevania. I mean, they've done a lot of games in the past couple of years, but this is where it started. And I don't know about you guys, but I was most certainly alive in 1987. I was 3 years old, and yeah, let's just get into it, right? Let's see what this is all about.
Unfortunately, I can't say the same. I was still in progress. Not even that. I wasn't even thought of. I'm a 2000 baby, and this is pretty fresh territory. I did play this a little bit as a kid, but Mercy, what do you really remember about this game growing up?
So I came to the NES kind of late, considering when it came out. So I was a Atari kid, and then I finally got myself an NES, and of course I got to pack in Mario Brothers and I think Excite Bike were my two main games that I had for the longest time. And my buddy comes over, neighbor kid, and says, "Hey, have you played Castlevania?" And I'm like, "No, what the hell is that? Castlevania? It doesn't even sound like a word." So he pops this thing in, and we sit there for 4 hours, and I'm like, "This game is insane," because I mean, just look at it. The music is great, right? Okay, so we have monsters, vampires, we have Draculas, and all kinds of crazy, monster mash of characters that you'd only see in movies. And then you're sitting there playing a video game, it's not like now where you can get all that information from the internet or YouTube. It's when something like this popped up and all you had was a Mario game and an Excite Bike. It kind of blew my mind. I was always a kid that liked all the monsters and especially Frankenstein and all those old ass black and white movies. So seeing this just kind of blew my mind. It was scary too. I remember when things like that would pop out and try to kill me. It was effective because I had never experienced anything like it. So this basically what I'm trying to say is that this game kind of holds a really, really staple of memories in my heart. And as you can tell, I'm playing as just as well as I did back in 1987 or 88. It might have been. Maybe I can't figure out the year.
Basically, the objective of the game is to defeat the vampire Count Dracula.
And not die.
It was.
Oh yeah.
This game was developed in tandem with the MSX2 game Vampire Killer, which was released a month later and follows the same premise. Castlevania was succeeded by a sequel, and it also has a prequel and several other games to go along with it. It was very positively received and financially successful. It's considered an NES classic.
Yeah, and I know Tristan was telling me earlier before we started the show that he was watching the Netflix, I guess, adaptation of like Castlevania. What are your thoughts on that, Tristan? Like, do you like the show? Like, have you watched the whole series from start to finish?
I watched the entire series. Like the. I don't think they've added any new episodes or anything yet. But I like the gory aspect of it. It's definitely not holding back from any of the lightheartedness of what you'd expect it to be.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that they kept it gory and almost like adult themed because yeah, I played this as a kid and this is not really gory because I guess you're only working with the 8-bit system here, so you can't really. There's only so much you can do with it. But I'm glad that they realized that a lot of the people that played this game are probably in their 30s now. They're probably up there in age. And it's probably what you expect. I would hate for them to have made it into like a kids thing, which I feel like everything that came out in the 80s is kind of being like made into like kid-friendly stuff, which is not bad. It's always good to get people, a new demographic.
It's good to get kids involved.
But with a concept like this, you kind of have to make it mature.
Yeah, it's Dracula.
Just because monsters, Dracula, just annihilating everyone in sight.
Seriously. So like the whole premise is like, and the whole premise of I didn't really understand the storyline back then because I was too young. Like as I got older and I realized that like, okay, so you're playing, I guess this is Simon Belmont. You're basically playing a vampire killer. So you're like Blade.
So, do you remember how many stages is in the game?
I want to say 5. It's not a very long game, but what it makes up for it not being very long, it makes up an insane difficulty.
I think you're going to be incredibly surprised by this information then. So, it uses platform gameplay and is divided into 6 blocks of 3 stages each, for a total of 18 stages.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
That's...
Now,
and we're
but
at stage
notice,
3.
you do have 60 seconds.
Oh boy. Yep, I'm boning this.
You gotta
So-
like fucking speed run it.
Yeah, you definitely
Oh wait,
can't
yeah, I
take
never
a
asked before.
ton of time.
We're good on profanity and shit in this, right?
Oh yeah, you can curse
Yeah,
it up,
yeah.
but
Okay, thank God.
within reason.
It's not on YouTube. We don't have to worry about demonetization.
Right. It's not like we're trying to make a living out of doing this or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it is going on YouTube, but
By the way, we have a Patreon at thegamermind.com if you want to check us out and support the cause. We're always down for that type of stuff.
Give them your pocket change.
I mean, all you got is $1 a month, and we pick you up in our private jet that we don't have just yet. I mean, you got to start off, ambitious, right? Nobody ever made. I feel like there was
There's
you
some
gotta
something
get
in
there. Yeah, you gotta start somewhere.
But another,
It's definitely one of those things that this game definitely carries a lot of characteristic to it. I mean, you begin the game with 4 lives and 5 hearts, and you must complete the current block of stages before the timer runs out. You have a health meter, and if it's fully depleted, then he falls into a pit.
pro moves right
that
here.
pit being hell.
Pro moves. I think another aspect of this game that we really didn't get to yet is, it's insanely difficult. It looks gorgeous, like on HD, and this Anniversary Collection looks pretty dope. But the music in this game, I remember, I was going to say I know all the lyrics to the songs, but that's dumb because there's no lyrics to this song, Josh. But I know the beats, and I know like the beat boops, the 8-bit symphony of whatever audio they had available to them at the time, which is great. I mean, listen, they're working on limited hardware, right? They don't have like the bells and whistles we have now. Like any schmo can make any kind of like 8-bit audio at this point. But back then, they had limited. I have to focus now because Medusa heads are the bane of my existence, or Simon's existence.
So, A little bit about on the reception of this game. Since its original release, it gained a really positive reception. The Japanese gaming publication Famitsu gave it a score of 34 out of 40, and it sold impressively and was considered a classic by Retro Gamer and IGN. Metacritic rated it 74 out of 100, and Game Rankings gave it a 69% on the NES.
So I have a question about that. Like, suppose you work for IGN, suppose you work for GameStop or GameSpot or whatever. How do you rate these games now with all the, I guess, improvements that gameplay has been made, like level design and character creation and all that stuff? Like, how do you go back to a game like this and give it a true to life score or retro score without any kind of bias? I'm curious to see what you guys
see. I feel like whenever you're doing something like that, you kind of just have to compare it to respective games from that era. Like their gameplay, how they were received, that sort of thing.
Right.
That's basically the only thing you can do, because I mean, definitely a platformer like this can't compare to the games we see releasing in 2019, 2020, you know, and expect games going on in the future. It can't hold up to that kind of thing because we've got...
You're like, this game is so much shittier than Mario?
Like,
right.
I mean, you know, it's a 2D game trying to fit into a 3D world. And so having a game like this really making a positive review, even nowadays, is huge for the advancement of the game, because overall it's a phenomenal game and not many people actually get the opportunity to experience it.
I just think
that, see, and with games like this, I feel like it was the building block for the old side-scroller, like, brawler games that you'd see a lot in arcades.
Oh, yeah.
And that was, like, my childhood growing up.
I feel like the arcade scene, like, it's been a while since I stepped foot in an arcade, but I feel like the arcade scene is lost now because everything is so easily accessible at home. But, like, is there a business case for that? Like, if I decided to say, hey, I'm going to open up a barcade for, you know, adults and just have a bunch of, like, you know, let's say you pay, like, a $10 fee and you get to play unlimited games for, like, $10.
You would probably make bank simply because people are obsessed with nostalgia from these old kind of games. Right. Like, and if you get the classic, like, standalone systems, dude, you'd get repeat customers just from that.
I can definitely agree. I mean, a game like this, it's, you know, and a lot of games from this time period, it's just something that many people will never be able to forget. It's something that they experienced throughout their entire childhood and has stuck with them and really left an impression on what games really should progress as the years continue forward. And it led to a lot of important developments in the video game industry because of the fact that, you know, we are getting more complicated, if you want to say physics, in games. I mean, you're having more complicated movements and more stuff happening on the screen than, say, you would an old Tetris game, for instance. You know, Tetris, it's a basic game. It's exactly what it sounds like. There's not a lot going on in the screen, but it can keep you entertained. Something like this.
And then you look at modern renditions of Tetris, and it's like, oh yeah, look at these crazy-ass graphics.
But, you know, something like this, there's a lot going on the screen that really is advanced for the time that it was released.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of forward thinking there with especially with these type of games that, like, you can tell with a game like this, like, they wanted to do a lot more, but they were limited to what they had. But I feel like when that happens, you get more creative. So you basically bend the rules a bit just to make it so that there's some type of system that you want to implement, whether it's, like, you know, moving to the right or moving to the left. Like right now, like when I played this game and I said, oh wait, I gotta move to the left now, it's not just like Mario Brothers, like running to the right. That blew my mind, because I'm like, okay, so it's like intricate, like there's level design, there's something here then like the variation of the enemies, like every enemy that I get to is like a mini boss fight. It's like you got to figure out their movements, you got to figure out what they're trying to, you know, what the game wants you to do. Whereas like some games it's like this is the set path, this is what you have to do. You have to, you know, either get good.
Hitting that guy?
Yeah, these they're just as shitty now as they were back then. Like look, they jump right at you. There's no way to dodge that.
Oh, and like the thing that really amazes me is for a game of this time, you don't really expect having so many different enemies having so many different movement animations.
Right.
I mean, you've got skeletons throwing things, you've got things scooting across the floor, you've got things jumping at you, you've got things flying. There's so many different aspects of the game that provide its own unique intricacy that it's definitely one of a kind. It's hard to find and replicate by a lot of video game producers and companies in that time period.
And the difficulty is also huge because, you know, I'm doing pretty much well here as well as I can do. But when you can't expect a 3 or 4 year old to do this type of thing. So they didn't give a rat's ass about difficulty. They was like, hey, this is the game. You got 3 lives. Make it happen. And then you're like, well, okay. And then if you die, you go back. You know what I'm saying? There's no save. There's none of that. So it was a little rough, you know, because like, especially if you bought this game, you know, games back then, like, I guess, were like 30, 40 bucks. Back then, that was a lot of money. So it's like, or even still, like, it was Friday night and you went to like the video store. That skeleton just committed suicide. Oh, so did I.
Hey, I just noticed something about the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither mine nor his audio is included. It's just yours, Mercy.
That's fine. I'm recording it on my end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I got my Elgato set up. We're good.
Nice.
My audio is included in the stream, but
No, I know.
selected
I'm
to
just
be
saying, like,
included.
on the Mixer stream, like, it's not popping up.
I'm super salty right now because I had a triple shot and I lost it because I killed myself. So I'm going through feelings right now.
Such skill, much wow.
Seriously. And you know what the problem is with this game? Like, whenever you get hit, you get knocked back. And it's a platforming game first. So it's like, you know, look at that. Like, look at that, like, hit and just get knocked back. It's just so brutal. A lot of this game is like, you know, timing jumps and, you know, moving over, you know, bottomless pits. So if you're trying to navigate all that stuff and you got a freaky ass skeleton throwing bones at you, it gets tough. It gets real tough.
Apparently he's got a bone to pick with you.
Seriously. And these birds. Every enemy in this game is a pain in the ass. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I'm sitting here watching you fight that fucking skeleton for like a solid 20 seconds. I think
I
you're
just didn't want to
freaking
give
out.
in.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're going to, like, it depends. Like, if this feature does well, I think we stick with it, but this is not a game to mess with. Seriously, it's like those games that you heard about, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES, Battletoads. I would even say like Dark Souls, because, you know, if you scroll off,
It's like the original Dark Souls.
seriously, dude, seriously. Even Dark Souls, you had that, you know, I just gotta get to a bonfire. I just gotta, look, I'm 1 health. If I was playing a Dark Souls game
Gotta
right
get
now,
to the
I
end
would
of the
be
stage.
seriously hoping for a bonfire at this point. Because, like, or I need a wall chicken or some kind of meat. Look at that. I think that was a checkpoint, though. Please let it be a checkpoint. Ah, yes. Awesome.
You get like 2 steps in, and it's like, nope, just kidding.
Sorry. Here comes the Medusa.
I feel like
heads.
that's whenever people make like the modern retakes on these, like the parody games,
right.
something that they usually do. You're like, oh, you're relieved? Yeah, suck it.
But I think
And we want to know what you guys think about us playing through. I mean, with the anniversary collection, we've got several games within the collection. We've got, of course, the one you're seeing now. We've also got Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, Castlevania The Adventure, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge, Super Castlevania 4, Kid Dracula, and Castlevania Bloodlines. If you want to see us play through each of these for you guys, let us know. Drop a comment, hit that like button. We need your input because we want to know if this is something that you guys want to see, and if it's not, that's okay. We can find something else that's more suiting for you guys. But this definitely is a nostalgia trip.
Right.
For Mercy especially.
Absolutely. I have goosebumps all over, and I might just play this on my personal time, even if you guys don't want to watch it. So there. Oh, man, these birds. I tell you, these birds, bane of my existence.
It's like the movie The Birds.
It's like with a lot of these enemies.
Use a fucking swarm.
With a lot of these enemies, you have to really. It's all about timing. And back then, it was you just learn stuff through repetition. Like, if you think of like any of the speed runs, I watch a lot of speed runs. I don't know if you guys have any experience with that stuff, but speed running is basically taking a game and getting so good at it that you try to beat it as fast as possible. And I'm doing a bang-up job here right now.
How many
Can you
times have you
crouch
died
under
now?
them?
Like 4?
Yeah, 4. I think I picked up a free life at some point.
Can you crouch under those walls?
No, I
Can't you
don't.
just jump? Can't you just jump over the thing?
No, it's too
Whatever.
high of a jump.
Yeah, and it's too high of a jump, but I don't
sentry
get low
turret.
enough. Yeah, I wish I could go prone in Castlevania.
A drop
You know
shot
this
him.
part of this stage must have pissed off so many people
Oh yeah, dude.
just because of the mass amounts of those totems.
It's the totems and it's the birds. The birds I think are worse than the totems because at least with the totems it's just a timing thing where you just gotta hit the balls. But the birds.
The birds are
The birds are
definitely
like, can't hit me,
brutal.
bitch.
And if I remember correctly, it gets worse in future games.
Gets 1,000 times harder.
Yeah, so I just want to let you know that that thing in the background is Dracula's castle. So we're not even at Dracula's castle yet, and we're getting our asses handed to us.
Yeah, we are on stage 9 of 18.
Right now, we're just walking through his garden. He's just watching from the balcony, like, what the fuck is this idiot doing?
So that's a mummy, and I'm pretty
That
sure
is a mummy.
that.
Who's mommy?
Oh, that chicken is clutch. Okay, we got a chicken.
How hard are the mummies supposed to be to kill?
Yeah, spake that mummy.
Well, that was interesting, and unfortunately, that's game over. So I think that's gonna call it. I mean, we made it pretty far. So what I'll do is I'll drop a save state here. We have a continue. It's not like it's the end of the world, but yeah. So that's Castlevania, man. That's
But I mean, for all fairness, you made it halfway through the game, which
I
is a
did.
lot farther than you made with the last game.
right. With the last game, I didn't make it. Did we even get through like the first world?
I think you might have gotten through the first world, but I don't think you got far into the second if you did make it through the first.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say this is a lot better performance here, with Castlevania. So
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
but yeah,
That's Castlevania. We want to know what you guys think. Do you want to see the rest in the Anniversary Collection? Let us know.
let us know. Drop us a line. Like I said, you can follow us on YouTube. Obviously, you know that we're here. Gamermind.com. You could also follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you
Our
get your
social links will
content.
be in the description, so make sure
Absolutely.
you check that out.
And this has been Run It Back, Castlevania. I'm your host, Josh. We have Ryan here,
Hey, hey.
and we have Tristan.
Yo.
Take care. Keep gaming.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, guys.
Hit it. Hit it.